Breaking news! The week started off very busy, even more so after the latest information from behind the scenes of the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, Ravens, we will certainly have surprises in the next few hours. I'll tell you all the details. But first, make sure you've already pressed the like button if you've been a Baltimore Ravens fan for over 20 years. Some people here have been fans since the 70s. It's great to see you here. I hope the Ravens bring lots of joy to the new generation. We know that players will always come and go after a while. I want to know something from you. Are you in favor of Mark Andrews staying with the Ravens for this season? Or are you in favor of him leaving? Leave your opinion here. We'll talk more about this in a little while. Now, another thing that has generated a lot of opinions on the web is about this here. It all started with a cryptic tweet from Odafe Oweh. The Ravens linebacker set social media ablaze with a simple peace sign emoji at 9:30 p.m. PDT, and that was enough to get speculation going. Was he saying goodbye? Was a trade in the works? Could this be the prelude to something huge involving a star player like Micah Parsons or even Tyreek Hill? Initially, many assumed Oweh was on his way out. A peace sign could easily mean goodbye, and with the Ravens in a potential position to shake up their roster, it wasn't a crazy thought. But then, the discussion took a wild turn. Some began connecting the dots between Oweh's tweet and Tyreek Hill's recent frustrations with the Miami Dolphins. Hill, known for his signature peace sign celebration, has previously expressed his unhappiness with the team. Could this tweet be a hint that the Ravens were making a move for one of the NFL's most explosive playmakers? It seemed unlikely, but rumors began to spread that Baltimore was at least considering such a move. But just when everyone was settling on that theory, Oweh threw another curveball at 2:16 a.m. He tweeted, "Man, I hope not, but God's plan always wins." And suddenly everything was back in question. Was he talking about himself? Was he reacting to something else happening within the Ravens organization? Was another player on the move? The most obvious scenario was that Oweh himself had been informed that the team was exploring trade options for him. Maybe the Ravens had spoken to him about potential trade discussions, giving him a heads up that his name was being floated in negotiations. The first tweet could have been his initial reaction, accepting his fate, acknowledging the business side of the game. But then, hours later, maybe he processed the situation differently, holding out hope that he wouldn't be dealt. God's plan always wins could be his way of coming to terms with the uncertainty. But there's another angle to consider. What if Oweh wasn't the one on the trade block? What if he was reacting to news that someone else, someone close to him, was on the move? The first name that comes to mind is David Ojabo. The two are more than just teammates. They're practically family. They went to the same high school, grew up together, and have had a bond that predates their time in Baltimore. If Ojabo were being shopped around, Oweh might have been expressing his disappointment. His "I hope not" could have been about losing his close friend to another team.
It's also worth considering that this could be part of a much bigger move. The Ravens have been linked to multiple trade rumors involving pass rushers and wide receivers. The team's pass rush has been inconsistent, and their front office knows they need more firepower in that department. A trade for someone like Micah Parsons or Max Crosby would be a game changer, but it would likely require the Ravens to part ways with significant assets, possibly including Oweh or Ojabo. If Oweh has been informed of trade talks, he might know that his departure or the departure of a close teammate is a real possibility. Beyond the Oweh drama, the Ravens' potential moves this offseason are generating heated debates among fans. One name that keeps popping up is Max Crosby. Many see him as a more well-rounded option than Parsons because of his dominance in both pass rushing and run defense. The Ravens' run defense was exposed at times last season, and Crosby's ability to shut down rushing lanes would be a huge boost. Others still prefer Parsons, seeing him as a game wrecker who could elevate the defense to another level. But if acquiring either of these stars means losing a player like Oweh or Ojabo, is it worth it? Then there's the receiver situation. The Ravens have long been linked to DK Metcalf, but now there's talk that he might be headed to Green Bay. If that happens, does Baltimore pivot to someone like Davante Adams? He's not the same deep threat jump ball receiver as Metcalf, but he's a reliable target who could thrive in the Ravens system. Keenan Allen's name has also been thrown around, and while he's older, he's still one of the best route runners in the league. Imagine a scenario where the Ravens add a top-tier pass rusher and a veteran wide receiver in the same offseason. That's the kind of aggression Baltimore fans have been hoping for. Of course, all these moves hinge on one thing, the salary cap. The Ravens aren't exactly swimming in cap space, so any major acquisition would require some creative financial maneuvering. That brings up the elephant in the room, Mark Andrews. His name has come up in trade discussions, though nothing concrete has emerged. Some fans are adamant that he should stay no matter what, while others think that if trading him lands the Ravens a true number one receiver, it might be worth considering. One wild trade idea floating around, Andrews and picks for Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith. Would the Ravens do it? Would Miami even entertain it? And let's not forget the offensive line situation. One of the biggest factors in the Ravens' postseason struggles has been the lack of protection for Lamar Jackson. When given time in the pocket, Lamar has shown he can carve up defenses. The problem is, he hasn't had that luxury often enough. Restructuring Ronnie Stanley's deal or finding another top-tier offensive lineman could be a priority, but his injury history makes any long-term commitment risky. The Ravens could opt to draft offensive line help early, but that would mean passing up on playmakers at other positions. As for quarterback depth, there's an interesting debate about whether the Ravens should look at someone like Justin Fields as a backup. Some believe that Todd Monken could design a terrifying short yardage package featuring Fields, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry in the backfield. The idea is intriguing, but Fields would likely have better opportunities elsewhere. Zach Wilson's name has also been mentioned, but the idea of giving up draft capital for him doesn't sit well with many fans. The Ravens might ultimately stick with a lower-cost veteran option rather than making a splash at backup QB. So, where does all of this leave the Ravens? Right now, the Oweh situation is still up in the air. Whether he's on the move or simply reacting to behind-the-scenes discussions, it's clear that something is happening. The Ravens aren't standing still this offseason, and if history has taught us anything, it's that Eric DeCosta always has something up his sleeve. Now it's your turn, Ravens flock. What do you make of Oweh's cryptic tweets? Do you think he's on the way out, or is this all just social media mind games? And if the Ravens do make a big move, who would you rather see them go after? A dominant pass rusher, a game-changing receiver, or a rock-solid offensive lineman? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. This is a guy who has been Lamar Jackson's most trusted target for years. He's been the security blanket, the go-to guy in crucial moments, and even when defenses key in on him, he still manages to produce. Now, if the Ravens were willing to shake things up and prioritize speed and explosive playmaking over their traditional reliance on the tight end position, then yeah, a move like this could make sense. But realistically, unless there's some deep internal discussion happening within the Ravens front office that we don't know about, it's tough to see them pulling the trigger on trading away Andrews. Not only because of his talent, but also because of the chemistry he has with Lamar. We've seen time and time again how valuable that connection is, especially in high-pressure situations. But this does bring up an interesting discussion about the Ravens' offensive direction. Are they truly committed to evolving their offense into a more vertical, explosive unit, or will they continue to rely on the same formula, heavy run game, tight end-focused passing attack, and a defense that keeps them in games? Because the league is changing. Teams that can consistently push the ball downfield, stretch defenses, and create big plays are the ones who find long-term success. We've seen the Chiefs evolve their offense around Patrick Mahomes, even after losing Tyreek Hill. We've seen teams like the Eagles load up on weapons for Jalen Hurts. The Bengals surrounded Joe Burrow with elite playmakers. So that's the question for you. What do you think the Ravens should do? Should they go all in on defense and get a game-changing pass rusher? Should they make a splash move for an elite wide receiver? Or do you think they should stay the course, build through the draft, and focus on continuity? Let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, keep it clean.